I have a confession to make. I was wrong about the Boston Celtics, and I will avail myself of my shortcomings after you subscribe to my channel and help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers by the playoffs. So the Boston Celtics come into a season with Jayson Tatum coming off of an injury from the playoffs last year. No one, I think, in the general discourse or perhaps even around the team expecting him to come back this season. I know that Jayson Tatum said he had a goal of coming back this season, but I don't think anybody actually thought it was going to happen, including Brad Stevens, who spent the entire summer on a mission to achieve one thing and one thing only: to go from one of the most expensive rosters deep into the second apron and get out of that, to try to avoid the second apron repeater penalties that they would have incurred had they stayed. And he did that so well that they're not even a first apron team right now. How? Well, trading away Drew Holiday, who was their starting point guard, trading away Kristaps Porzingis, who was their starting center, albeit with some health issues that made it unlikely that he was probably going to stay even if they had won the championship. Al Horford, nope, he's walking away. Franchise, call it a baby legend, nope, he's gone. And I say baby legend because it's hard to call a guy a franchise legend when your organization has legit Mount Rushmore legends on it. Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Kevin McHale. You could even go a little bit more modern with Kevin Garnett, and I guess you can call Paul Pierce that, although I'm personally not much of a fan, and I would have him a tier or two below a lot of these guys. It's hard to argue with the fact that he was there for a really long time, and he was ultimately the guy that they built that championship roster around, despite me not liking him all that much. He belongs, I guess, on the list of franchise legends for the Celtics. Now, put Al Horford wherever you want on that. He was important to the Boston Celtics, and he's not there anymore because money. They left themselves, as a result, with virtually no front court whatsoever. And after bringing on Anthony Simons, I truly expected them to trade him again, particularly for something with more future orientation, because the direction at that point in time seemed incredibly obvious. Lean into a one-year reset, a gap year, and dare I say it, tank. Add a lottery pick in a loaded draft class, get back into contention next year with a healthy Jayson Tatum, add him back to Jaylen Brown. You've still got Derek White. You've still got some of your rotation pieces that have been super important for you, and you're adding in a cheap talent lottery pick. Could actually be a difference maker with the type of draft class that we're looking at, and off to the races you go. Front office, figure out the moves to make us a title contender again. Honestly, it was supposed to be the same model as the Indiana Pacers this year with Tyrese Halliburton out, because he also got knocked out in the playoffs last year and not playing this year. But holy hell, has that not been how this has all played out. The Pacers are worse than expected without Halliburton, and the Celtics are second in the East right now. This conference was supposed to belong to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, and they are both behind Boston. Apparently, Neemias Queta and Luka Garza are Duncan and David Robinson, and Peyton Pritchard is Caitlin Clark. Seriously though, she is the face of the fastest growth we've probably ever seen in the history of sports. If she actually does have a comp, it's another Celtic, but an actual legend in Larry Bird, crossed with Magic Johnson, who together saved the NBA from bankruptcy and made it a relevant league for casual sports fans. Does that sound familiar? Then you'd have to probably add in a splash of Michael Jordan, who then elevated from that foundation to, mainstream, and sprinkle in just a little touch of Steph Curry, who influenced the way that it's played and redefined what three-point shooting range actually means. No disrespect to Peyton Pritchard, but come on. Now, back to the Celtics. They do have the 5th hardest schedule remaining this season, according to Tankathon, so they might not hold on to their positioning. But Jayson Tatum is practicing, apparently, and he might actually come back this year after all. Jaylen Brown might mess around and find himself on first-team All-NBA when this is all said and done. His 29 points a game is top 5 in the league in scoring. He's rounding it out with 7 boards and 5 dimes. Those are both career highs for him while he's getting his shots up. More shots than anybody else in the league, which honestly is probably the only thing that isn't shocking, because in Tatum's absence and the guys that they got rid of over the summer, I kind of figured he was gonna be chucking. And what I didn't figure is they were going to be winning while he was doing it. And that's exactly what's happening. Because you might have forgotten this, but Derek White, still quite a good basketball player. Even though he's not particularly good at shooting at this very moment, he's still leading this team in plus minus, and they're plus 11 per 100 possessions when he is on the floor. He's just one of those dudes that you say the super cliche, annoying thing that people say when they don't really know how to quantify what they're saying. He makes winning plays. But in his case, it actually means something. I joked about Caitlin Clark earlier being compared to Peyton Pritchard, but he's giving them 17 and 5 a night. And since they are winning, and the front court was an obvious weak point for this team, at the deadline, Brad Stevens went out and traded for Nikola Vucevic to shore things up down low. Now with him and Keita, you've got 48 minutes of solid rebounding, if nothing else at all, and when Vooch is in, he adds a stretch element to the game, which you know that Joe Mazzulla loves, because he loves when his big guys can add space to the floor. Look, do I think that this team is due for a bit of a regression? Yes. Yes, I do. Would they still be better than I expected them to be coming into this season? Yes. Yes, they would. And if they do regress in the standings, it might not actually have as much to do with an indictment on them, more so just a sign of some others that are elevating. The Cavs have been on a complete tear since the turn of the calendar year, and James Harden has lifted their offense quite a bit since they brought him into the mix. They should surpass the Celtics based off of their talent level alone and how well they're playing after a bunch of injuries to start the season and just a kind of an abysmal start for them. The Knicks also seem to be getting it together after an incredibly rough January that they went through. They should also finish ahead of the Celtics. So if it does happen, nobody should be disappointed about that in Boston. Even if they get caught by those two teams, the two teams that were pretty much expected across the board to represent the Eastern Conference this year in the finals by maybe everybody. Let's say that happens. And let's say that the Celtics finish with the 4th seed and still have home court in the first round of the playoffs. That is an insanely successful season in what was supposed to be a gap year, and they still managed to do it while accomplishing the goal that they had over the offseason of getting them out of repeater tax hell as it relates to the aprons, both second apron and first apron. The only thing that they're failing at is losing the games required to get that lottery pick. But I think you're going to take that. And if they're able to hold off either of the Cavs or the Knicks down the stretch, it just means that they're continuing to play really well. And that is pretty much just gravy. They've blown my mind so far. If they've blown your mind, let me know in the comment section of this video. Subscribe to my channel to help me reach my goal. And if you enjoyed this, go ahead and watch this one next.